Srimad Bhagavatam, translated, commentaries, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 1, Chapter 9. The Passing Away of Bhismadeva in the Presence of Lord Krishna. Text 42. Now I can meditate upon that one Lord, Sri Krishna, now present before me, with full concentration, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to His presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna is the one absolute, supreme personality of Godhead. But He has expanded Himself into His multiplenary portions by His inconceivable energy. The conception of duality is due to ignorance of His inconceivable energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, 9:11, that only the foolish take Him to be a mere human being. Such foolish men are not aware of His inconceivable energies. By His inconceivable energy, He is present in everyone's heart, as the sun is present before everyone all over the world. The Paramatma feature of the Lord is an expansion of His plenary portions. He expands Himself as Paramatma in everyone's heart by His inconceivable energy, and He also expands Himself as the glowing effulgence of Brahma-jyoti by expansion of His personal glow. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that the Brahma-jyoti is His personal glow. Therefore, there is no difference between Him and His personal glow, Brahma-jyoti, or His plenary portions as Paramatma. Less intelligent persons who are not aware of this fact consider Brahma-jyoti and Paramatma to be different from Sri Krishna. This misconception of duality is completely removed from the mind of Bhismadeva, and he is now satisfied that it is Lord Sri Krishna only who is all, in everything. This enlightenment is attained by the great Mahatmas or devotees, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19, that Vasudeva is all, in everything, and there is no existence of anything without Vasudeva. Vasudeva, or Lord Sri Krishna, is the original, supreme person, as now confirmed by a Mahajan, and therefore both the neophytes and the pure devotees must try to follow in his footsteps. That is the way of the devotional line. The worshipful object of Bhismadeva is Lord Sri Krishna as Partha-sarathi, and that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan as the most attractive Shama Sundar. Sometimes less intelligent scholars make a mistake and think that Krishna of Vrindavan and that of the battle of Kurukshetra are different personalities. But for Bhismadeva, this misconception is completely removed. Even the impersonalist object of destination is Krishna as the impersonal Jyoti, and the yogi's destination of Paramatma is also Krishna. Krishna is both Brahma-jyoti and localized Paramatma, but in Brahma-jyoti or Paramatma, there is no Krishna or sweet relations with Krishna. In his personal feature, Krishna is both Partha-sarathi and Shyamasundar of Vrindavan. But in his impersonal feature, he is neither, in the Brahmajyoti nor in the Paramatma. Great Mahatmas like Bhismadeva realize all these different features of Lord Sri Krishna, and therefore they worship Lord Krishna, knowing him as the origin of all features. Text 43. Sutta Goswami said, thus Bhismadeva merged himself in the Supersoul Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with his mind, speech, sight, and actions, and thus he became silent, and his breathing stopped. Purport. The stage attained by Bhismadeva while quitting his material body is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because he merged his self into thinking of the Lord and his mind into remembering his different activities. He chanted the glories of the Lord, and by his sight he began to see the Lord personally present before him, and thus all his activities became concentrated upon the Lord without deviation. This is the highest stage of perfection, and it is possible for everyone to attain this stage by practice of devotional service. The devotional service of the Lord consists of 9 principles of service activities, and they are 1. Hearing. 2. Chanting. 3. Remembering. 4. Serving the lotus feet. 5. Worshipping. 6. Praying. 7. Executing the orders. 8. Fraternizing. And 9. Fully surrendering. Any one of them, or all of them, are equally competent to award the desired result, but they require to be practiced persistently under the guidance of an expert devotee of the Lord. The first item, hearing, is the most important item of all, and therefore hearing of the Bhagavad Gita and later on Srimad Bhagavatam is essential for the serious candidate who wants to attain the stage of Bhismadeva at the end. The unique situation at Bhismadeva's time of death can be attained, even though Lord Krishna may not be personally present. His words of the Bhagavad Gita, or those of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are identical with the Lord. They are sound incarnations of the Lord, and one can fully utilize them to be entitled to attain the stage of Sri Bhismadeva, who was one of the 8 Vasus. Every man or animal must die at a certain stage of life, but one who dies like Bhismadeva attains perfection, and one who dies forced by the laws of nature dies like an animal. That is the difference between a man and an animal, and the human form of life is especially meant for dying like Bhismadeva. Text 44. Knowing that Bhismadeva had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent, like birds at the end of the day. Purport. To enter into, or to become merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, means to enter the original home of the living being. The living beings are all component parts and parcels of the Absolute Personality of Godhead, and therefore they are eternally related with Him as the servitor and the served. The Lord is served by all His parts and parcels, as the complete machine is served by its parts and parcels. Any part of the machine removed from the whole is no longer important. Similarly, any part and parcel of the Absolute detached from the service of the Lord is useless. The living beings who are in the material world are disintegrated parts and parcels of the Supreme Whole, and they are no longer as important as the original parts and parcels. There are, however, more integrated living beings who are eternally liberated. The material energy of the Lord, called Durga Shakti, or the superintendent of the prison house, takes charge of the disintegrated parts and parcels, and thus they undergo a conditioned life under the laws of material nature. When the living entity becomes conscious of this fact, he tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and thus the spiritual urge of the living being begins. This spiritual urge is called Brahma Jignasa, or inquiry about Brahman. Principally, this Brahma Jignasa is successful by knowledge, renunciation, and devotional service of the Lord. Jnana, or knowledge, means to know everything of Brahman, the Supreme. Renunciation means detachment of material affection. And devotional service is the revival by practice of the original position of the living being. The successful living beings who are eligible to enter into the realm of the Absolute are called the Jnanis, the Yogis, and the Bhaktas. The Jnanis and Yogis enter into the impersonal rays of the Supreme, but the Bhaktas enter into the spiritual planets known as the Vaikunthas. In these spiritual planets, the Supreme Lord as Narayan predominates, and the healthy, unconditioned living beings live there by rendering loving service to the Lord in the capacity of servant, friend, parents, and fiancé. There, the unconditioned living beings enjoy life in full freedom with the Lord, whereas the impersonalist Jnanis and Yogis enter into the impersonal glowing effulgence of the Vaikuntha planets. The Vaikuntha planets are all self-illuminated like the sun, and the rays of the Vaikuntha planets are called the Brahma-jyoti. The Brahma-jyoti is spread unlimitedly, and the material world is but a covered portion of an insignificant part of the same Brahma-jyoti. This covering is temporary, and therefore it is a sort of illusion. Bhismadeva, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord in his eternal form of Partha-sarathi predominates over the unconditioned living beings who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. The love and affection which binds the Lord and the devotee are exhibited in the case of Bhismadeva. Bhismadeva never forgot the Lord in his transcendental feature as the Partha-sarathi, and the Lord was present personally before Bhismadeva while he was passing to the transcendental world. That is the highest perfection of life.